Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hi, my name is Alyssa, and for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I, an oily skin girl, rock a dewy makeup look. Now that it's more winter time outside, I'm able to rock more dewy skin without having to worry about my makeup clocking out well before I'm ready or just like looking like a total grease ball by the end of the day. So I have been loving using these products and some of these techniques to really make my skin look super healthy and glowy, but not greasy. So I really hope that you guys are excited. I hope this helps out any of my oily skin girls or boys. And without further ado, if you would like to know how I rock a dewy skin makeup look, then let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, you guys, so first things first, jumping into this, the first thing you got to do when you're gonna rock dewy skin as an oily skin individual is make sure that you have your skin prepped before you even start your makeup. So that's of course clean skin, and then making sure you moisturize, because yes, even though you're oily, you do need moisturizer. I use a gel moisturizer during the day, as I find that that really helps my skin, and it's not too heavy when I'm going to go put on makeup. It soaks right in and it's absolutely phenomenal. And then so from there we are going to jump into the makeup. So for today I am going to be using the Touch in Sol No Poreblem primer. I have really been liking using this when I want to do a more dewy skin look because it's got that more silicone-y, slightly water-based kind of a texture to it versus like other pore filling primers that are like really thick. So I feel like this really sinks into my skin and gives it a little bit of hydration, if that makes any sense. So that's what I'm going to use today. I use about a pump and a half, 2 pumps of it, and we're going to rock this. This is about the only time I ever really use this primer because during the summer it just does not stick with my makeup well. And like I said, this really gives me that nice bit of hydration underneath that my skin needs, but also does fill in my pores, which is great because as someone with oily skin, girl, my pores, they like to be known, okay? So once my primer has like sunk into my skin and I feel like I'm ready to move on, the next thing I do when I'm going for more dewy type skin is I go in with cream bronzer and blush and sometimes a liquid highlighter before going in with my foundation. I find that when I do this before I do powder, it really just makes a world of difference at having a really lovely smooth base. Everything looks extra blended, extra great, and I'm having to use less powder at the end, thus giving me a more dewy type of a finish to my skin. So for today, I'm going to start with cream bronzer. I'm going to be using my Chanel Soul Tan Day Chanel bronzer. I go between this and the Fenty one that I have. Those are the only 2 cream bronzers that I do own because I don't use cream bronzers very frequently, like in the summertime. Who is she? Absolutely not. But if you do have any favorite cream bronzers, definitely let me know down below because I haven't tried many just because for the longest time I was more nervous around cream-based products. But I'm going to go in with this today, and I love using this Fenty Beauty 125 face brush. Oh my gosh, she is a match made in heaven, and I will use this brush for both my bronzer and my blush, and somehow it just looks absolutely fantastic and the colors don't mix weird. I don't know how it doesn't, but I'm not complaining. So I'm just going to start like by tapping it on my cheeks. I'm going to bring it up on my forehead, and do not worry, it is going to look a little bit crazy to start, but we'll get there. We will get there. So I'm just going to stipple this out, really push it in. I will bring this quite a bit into my cheek area just because it's underneath. So it really helps mesh with my like foundation and concealer and everything later because I don't want it to look too harsh. And I personally do, as you see, like to push these products in. I don't really swirl my brush around, and at least I try not to. Sometimes it's a habit, but I try to be more conscious on pushing the product into my skin, and that way it really meshes well overall. So the next thing I'm going to go in is with cream blush. Today I'm using the Fenty cream blush. This is in the shade Strawberry Drip. I love this when I'm going for a more natural look just because this just peeking out underneath foundation is so gorgeous. So I'm literally, like I said, taking that same brush and I'm going to start my hair in the way. start stamping this on. And if I'm going to use cream blush underneath my foundation, I do go pretty heavy, just again because I am going to use a semi-full coverage foundation because it's just what I like. So as you can see, I'm really putting this on from right about my cheek area, and I'm pulling it up towards my temple. And then I'll go ahead and start doing it a little bit on this side before we work on blending. Again, still really focusing on pushing the product into the skin here. And then I will pull it in just a tad. I won't take this over my nose. I don't really know why. I'm sure I could, I just haven't, but this is how I do that. And then what I like to do is take the brush for a second. I will literally rub it on my hand to get any sort of crazy excess color, but as you can see, there's really nothing. This brush is so great. And I will just make sure I really do blend that out one good time. So once I have both of those products laid down, I'm going to go in with my foundation. I'm going in with my tried and true, my NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop. I am in the shade Buff. This foundation is just so good to me, you guys. I love it so much. I'm going to take 2 pumps to start, and I'm just going to go in with a Morphe sponge, and we're going to start packing this on. And the way I like to do this to make sure I'm really getting all of the work that I already put in is I will start lower on my cheek here and really work on bringing the coverage in all the areas I want today, especially my chin. And then we will go ahead and bring it on up. Okay, so after I have all of that done, I go ahead and go in with my concealer. My favorite one to use on my dewy skin days is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. It gives pretty dang good coverage, but it's also very lightweight and easy to maneuver, which is why I really like it. I do typically have to go in with more than one layer right here in the inner portion, just because my little dark circles are so dark, but we're going to work around that. And I'm going to be very careful with my concealer today on all my areas, just because my face is having a little bit of trouble, and I don't want to highlight any of my blemishes that I worked so hard to cover. So we're just going to go ahead and buff those out with our sponge. And so now I'm going to set it today. I'm going to use the pretty Vulgar setting powder, and I'm not going to do any baking. I'm going to take my brush, and we are going to tap out underneath with a sponge. And then we are going to tap the powder. Now that we are here after doing a little bit of setting powder, you can see what I'm talking about when I have just like the nicest and lightest flush of color on my cheeks, and I haven't had to set any of the rest of my face yet, which is super great because that's going to mean that it's going to really keep that dewy type of look locked in place for now. And it looks like I have just a light tan, like it's nothing crazy. It's not gonna look like I have a bunch of powder on the top of my face, but moving forward to set a little bit of it down because I can't just walk around without powder on the majority of my face. It'll transfer, it'll go everywhere, it will break down. So what I like to do in this instance is I like to take the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer. Mine is in the shade Luminous Bronze Light. And I'm going to take my big old fluffy powder brush, and I'm just going to dip it in like that. And then I'm going to just sweep this in all my areas where I would put my bronzer. I love using this bronzer for this specific makeup look is because the bronzer has a little bit of shimmer in it. Not too crazy, but it helps keep me looking a little bit glowy. But the best thing is about the undertone of this bronzer really matches my cream bronzers almost to a T. So it doesn't look like I've got crazy stuff sitting on my skin. All it did was deepen up the bronzer on my face just a little bit, but add a nice little sheen where it just looks like, as you can see, like my cheek just looks like slightly glowy versus like the rest of my skin as much, which is, I have a hair, very nice, but it just looks really, really nice in my personal opinion. And because I did set it with a powder, now it's not going to go anywhere or transfer. It's going to be kind of locked and loaded in place. So from here, if you want to add more blush, you totally can. To me, I feel like my blush still looks pretty good, but if I'm like, oh, I want to look a little more blushed up than I already did because I'm just feeling, you know, a little bit extra today, I typically go in with my Note Cosmetics blush in the shade Desert Rose because it's got such a neutral kind of a shade to it, and I will just take one of my blush brushes and I will lightly tap it in there. I mean, just very light. And then we will go just like this. This is when if I want blush on my nose, I'll put it on my nose. Now this is a matte blush. This is not a blush with any sort of shimmer in it. And I do that just to make it not look too overpowering or too glittery, because I feel like if I do too much like things with glitter in on my cheeks, then I just look like I have a bunch of glitter on my face. It's not super flattering to me, in my opinion. And then so from here, I'm going to take a little bit of highlighter, and I'm going to use my tried and true when I do this type of look, and that is my Anastasia and Amrezy highlighter. And it's because this highlighter just looks so wet and gorgeous on the skin. Just so pretty. It's got the best formulation, and because the highlighter in itself isn't really powdery, it's got that very unique formula to it. It just really melts into the skin very nice, but keeps me looking, you know, dewy. As you can see, just like that. And so because of this formula on there, I'll take it more places. So like I'll put it above my brows, and I'll kind of drag it up on my temple, because I don't have to worry about it breaking down over time. And when I am feeling crazy and my skin is acting better, I will actually take this and put it in the middle of my forehead and on my chin as well, just to bring the dewiness to my whole face. But when my skin is acting up, again, you don't want to highlight any sort of blemish or anything, so I'm not going to do that today. But typically, when my skin is having, you know, better days, I will put it here and here as well. Okay, you guys, now I am back with the rest of my makeup all done. I did a lighter look today just so that way the focus could be on the skin. And now we are going to do the last and final step. This is probably the most important step, at least in this routine for me, and that is the setting spray. And what that is going to do is just take all the powder that I did put on my skin and really just help it blend into my skin, sink in, and that way the look stays a little more dewy looking. So for today, I'm using the Smashbox So Chill Coconut Primer Water. This is just the next one in my collection that I had to use, so we're going to use that. And I am going to be very generous with this. And then of course I'm going to go in with my fan, and if I feel like I need to mesh anything together, I'll just pat it in with my sponge. So we're going to knock this out. Like just an instant difference and like how good that made my skin look. Ooh. Anyways, you guys, that wraps up today's video. That is how I achieve a more dewy type of look on my oily skin. I really love it because I think it just gives me that natural glow that I am just so envious of every time someone with drier skin does their makeup. Like, it just looks so gorgeous. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hoped it helped out some of you. If you did like it, definitely go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do post new videos every Tuesday and Friday, and if you hit that notification bell, you will never miss an upload from me. And last but not least, you can also come follow your girl on Instagram at AlyssaNPope, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!